ESBR Boxing. We are back, myself and Paul Kelly. That means one thing and one thing only. We're here in preview mode, and we are here previewing world title fight down in the lightweight division. But before we get into that, and obviously mention those names and give you a bit of a preview and prediction on that, let's like to say like and subscribe to the channel. Obviously, all your boxing needs under one roof. Engage with the content. Let us know what you think, obviously, and we'll obviously use that to inform the content going forward. But Paul, as always, thank you very much for joining me. As I said, world lightweight action, and we're down to Keyshawn Davis versus Dennis Berinchyk. Obviously, Berinchyk, I think, is a guy. Both these fighters obviously have a lot of sort of publicity around them as well. Berinchyk 19-0 with 9 KOs. Obviously, he's the champion. Keyshawn Davis, obviously, a guy that's been spoken about for some time, getting his shot here, obviously, at a world title as well. So, the question I'm going to ask you, actually, we're going to focus on Keyshawn Davis first up, really. And I suppose have a look at how the sort of lightweight division looks, really, in relation to Keyshawn Davis. Ranked 5 for Ring Magazine. But I'm going to throw some names at you and say, do you think Keyshawn Davis, at this stage of his career, would beat the likes of Tank, Shakur, Loma, Zepeda? Like how do you sort of place him? Do you think he could beat those guys, or do you reckon there's still a bit of a question mark?
Yeah, thanks for having me on as always, mate. Interesting. Yeah, those names there, like you kind of win this, and then you're gonna have to throw them in there with those kind of names, in my opinion. There's no going back once you win a world title, really, is there? Like you can't have in this day and age, you can't be having easy defenses. So unifications with those lot, yeah, could happen. Loma, obviously, we don't know whether. Well, I certainly haven't seen if he's officially retired. There was a lot of talk about that. Um, I still think Loma's the guy. Like, not the maybe not the guy at 135, but I still think he's capable of beating 99% of the division. Um, so I would probably not back Keyshawn Davis to beat Loma at this stage. Even still, unless he puts in an unbelievable performance against Dennis Berinchyk. Zepeda, I think he's maybe a bit untested still, but I mean, a lot of hype about him. That's a fight I would love to see, mate. 50-50 in my eyes. Again, that could change depending on how Keyshawn gets on against the Ukrainian this weekend in New York. But the other ones, you got to favor Tank still. I mean, you just got to favor Tank. That concussive power, even if he's a few rounds down, you can't really back it against Tank, I feel. And then Shakur, equally, I think Shakur's close to unbeatable in these divisions. Like, honestly, he's incredible. But it remains to be seen whether we'll probably maybe see him up at 140 in the not so distant future. I think that'll probably be something that could happen is step up from lightweight to super light in the coming years. So whether or not that's a fight we ever see, I would back Shakur to win that. But that's not discrediting Keyshawn Davis. I think he's a world level fighter. If not this weekend, I think he'll definitely become world champion at some stage. Could well be this weekend, but I don't want to give my prediction away right now. But yeah, I think he's a brilliant fighter, Keyshawn. But I wouldn't say with confidence that he beats any of those names, really.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Actually, I think a lot will be revealed, I suppose, in this fight against Berinchyk here. I think the one for me that stands out is probably Zepeda, but then you look at it and obviously, undefeated guy, 32 wins. I mean, yeah, all right, you fought Tevin Farmer last time out, whatever. So like maybe not necessarily sort of getting the kind of test that you kind of want to see for him, but I still think you have to probably lean towards him just on kind of experience. And then if Keyshawn steps out, maybe that's the one for me. But I think yeah, I'm backing Tank, I'm backing Shakur. I think that Loma's Loma. I bet against Loma. Like, if he rolls about for the performance, I could also probably have to take him. But Keyshawn looks dominant here. Obviously, being in that conversation, and you rightly said, if he comes through this fight, becomes world champion, not going to take a step back. So those are sort of names that are going to be hunting him down, and hopefully, those are sort of fights we're going to see. Obviously, personally, I'm a big Tank fan. I'd see Tank get a go. To be honest with you, actually kind of start fleshing out his CV with some names. But we'll stay with Keyshawn Davis. Paul, you mentioned obviously like where you expect him to be a champion down here. I suppose the question really is: do you envision him maybe, like I say, stepping up to super lightweight, winning the world title up at super lightweight? Do you see him going as far as welter? I mean, how far do you reckon Keyshawn Davis can go in his career, Paul? What sort? Are you seeing multi-weight world champion? If so, how many weights?
Yeah, I think I am. To be honest with you, mate, I think at 25 years old, like he's not massive, massive, but he's not tiny either. He's like 5'9", got quite big dimensions. And at only 25, I still think he could definitely grow into a super lightweight, probably a welterweight as well. Getting further than well, if he's going to light middle, then maybe a bit of an ask, but for me, for my money, he could definitely win a world title at 140 at some stage in the future. I don't think we'll see a move there anytime soon, maybe, but I do think he could win a belt at super light, and then equally, could he win a belt at welter? Maybe, mate. Yeah, I mean, I think I'll definitely say that he becomes champion, world champion at lightweight and super lightweight. Welterweight, I could see him fighting there, and I suppose it kind of depends on the opponent. But to be honest with you, mate, as I said, he's only 25. Even if it was 7 years' time, he's 32 and he's a welterweight. Like that's still not old. He could easily pick up a belt in years to come. So yeah, I'll actually maybe lean towards a yes at welter as well. So I'll maybe go as high as welter. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I totally concur, Paul. I mean, people don't necessarily want that on this show. People want a bit of, a bit of to and fro and a bit of argy bargy. But I actually totally agree with you. I think super light, definitely. I think you look at the welterweight scene. There's some fighters up there like Evan Easton, whatever, who's not necessarily like a world, but like, not necessarily like a sort of elite champion. And you're sitting there going, he's actually up at 4. Ben's obviously kicking around those rankings as well. And I think actually for Keyshawn Davis mix up those sort of names, absolutely. I think that the division actually is quite weak up at welterweight. And if you can kind of capitalize that in the next sort of 5 years, well, there's definitely a chance you can pick up a belt there as well. So I totally agree with you. But Paul, we are here to talk about Dennis Berinchyk versus Keyshawn Davis. I wonder whether we're putting a bit of disrespect actually on Dennis Berinchyk, a very, very tough man. Like we're looking at like undefeated 9 KOs. Obviously not a huge puncher, but he's been in there, like, beating Navarrete. That's a very good win. Ujit, Mendy. There's some good names on that record, to be honest with you, Berinchy's record. And I wonder whether how big of a test this will be for Keyshawn Davis. I think obviously the biggest of his career to date. But I wonder, Paul, I'm going to come to you and ask you whether you think it's a test a step too far, or whether you think this is the perfect time, and also whether you see if you're going to go with Keyshawn Davis. I don't know what your pick is. Does he hand him Berinchyk a first stoppage loss, or does he go points? How's this one playing out, Paul?
Yeah, I think massive respect to Dennis Berinchyk. I think he's a great champion. More than capable of winning this fight. I think the way Keyshawn looked in his last fight against Lemos, yeah, Lemos is maybe at a level, but a lot of people, he gave Richardson Hitchens all sorts of problems. So I feel that I feel that Lemos. Oh, sorry, Keyshawn Davis. I'm leaning towards Keyshawn. I think he becomes world champion against Dennis Berinchyk. I think he hands Berinchyk his first professional loss. I think timing. Not saying Berinchyks over the hill, but he is, 11 years older than Keyshawn. Does look like he's really coming into his own here. And yeah, I envisage Keyshawn Davis winning this, and I'm gonna go points, mate. I can't see him stopping Dennis Berinchyk. I think he's a tough man, hard to beat. Will be hard to kneel down, but yeah, Keyshawn Davis points, mate.
Again, the preview show are aligned again here, whether there's some sort of transference or synchronicity going on, but we are aligned in our predictions. I also agree. I think Keyshawn Davis points is the one here. The Berinchy's very, very tough man, with him with some very good operators. Has got more than enough skill to get to the bell. And I look at the likes of Keyshawn Davis. I think it didn't necessarily stop the likes of Patera. I think as well, I'm looking around there thinking he took some guys late that aren't necessarily on the level of Berinchyk as well. So for me, I think Berinchyk will make the final bell, but I do expect Keyshawn Davis to win. And to be honest with you, I'm probably going to go UD. I don't think it'll be that close. I think maybe it's sort of an 8-4 sort of fight for me. But I think Keyshawn Davis has become world champion, and hopefully we'll see him maybe in with the likes of we mentioned Tank Shakur, Loma Zepeda, and then maybe up the divisions as well. But guys, let us know what you think, how you see the sort of lightweight division playing out from a sort of